Welcome to Getting Color. I'm a guest this week. I'm Brad Shepard, if you don't know. And of course, I have alongside with me the big Vito himself, Big Vito Lagrasso. Big Vito, how's it going?
How's everybody out there? How you doing? What is going on? I hope everybody is good. We have a new co-host, and we're kind of giving him a tryout this week. His name is Brad Shepard. We got some good things happening. We got some hot topics. I hope everybody's going to listen. Brad, take it away.
Well, wrestling is in a really interesting time. So, I can give you my take all day, but I'm really also interested, Vito, in hearing your take on the state of the business today. And I don't know, that you necessarily keep up with it at bated breath. I mean, I don't think many people do these days, but what's your general consensus on the business today versus when you were full-time in it, in ECW, in WCW, and WWE?
Totally different. I think the business has taken a new arm in social media where everybody has a say. Everyone has a Twitch. Everybody has an account. Everybody's looking to do their due, make their extra money. But when people get on and they have full-time contracts, there's two ways to look at it. Okay, and I'm going to explain this, and hopefully it gets the point across. When people are given a contract and they're making $200,000 for the year, let's just go around figure, okay, as their downside. 200,000, 200 appearances a year. Hey, I'm on the road 3-4 days a week. I'm hustling. I'm making money, hoping to make anything over the cap. So for the past 2 years, we have been in a pandemic. So those numbers to date have gone down to once a week. Not required to train on your own, but one appearance, 52 days a year. If you add pay-per-views, you get 20. What do you got? One pay-per-view, 52 and 12, talking 70 appearances, maybe 80 tops. So the contract benefits the company in the beginning part, but then because of the pandemic, it benefits the wrestler in the second part because of less dates, less times, less time on the road. So when you look at it, you say, okay, what's the beef? Companies are looking to make money on your status because you have a platform and they see you have 100,000, 200,000 viewers or listeners, and they're paying you on Twitch. So you're making extra money. The company thinks they are involved, they are entitled to that money.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do? I mean, where's the give and the go? Do you want to work 200 days a year, make 200,000, or do you want to work 70 times a year, make 200,000, and have your podcast, your Twitch, your whatever extra? You're not making money on house shows.
Mm-hmm.
You're not making any extra money on merch. You're trying to sell yourself. So what do?
Yeah, it's really fascinating, Vito. I think one of the big advantages of AEW out of the gate was the amount of dates that their talent do, right? I mean, it really is minimal compared to like the historical WWE. So that I would presume is a big benefit from a talent perspective when you're looking at, the trade-off of money versus the amount of time you would be working matches.
Right. I mean, now you look at AEW's schedule. Okay. Now, AEW, they're scheduled one live event a month, but I think they tape 2 and 3 shows a week. I don't know. I'm not there. But now they have pay-per-view. They're doing their stuff. So how many shows are they doing? I noticed
Mhm.
that AEW jams a lot of wrestlers in on programming where there's 8 to 10 wrestlers appearing every segment, so people get paid per appearance. How much are they getting paid per appearance? It's different than being on a salaried contract as to a per appearance, venue. Again, what do you do? AEW states that they don't claim you can make money on, you know, we can have a Twitch, we can have a, whatever you want, but they're
Mhm.
not making that top dollar like the WWE is paying.
Yeah.
That's my
Yeah.
take on it. I mean, tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's really interesting too, Vito, because one other additional point that I've been bringing up is just the size of the AEW roster. I mean, historically, WWE's roster has been too big in modern times, in my opinion,
Right.
and that just leaves a lot of talent out. I mean, even with all the time on TV that WWE has, it's just not enough for the hundreds of people they have on their roster. But AEW is really beginning to have that problem now, if you notice. I mean, they do have Rampage as a new show. They do have Dynamite, but they have such a large roster for the amount of TV time they have allotted that now we're beginning to see the same problems in AEW that WWE has had. What's your take on that?
Well, Tony Khan is saying that he doesn't limit the roster. Okay, doesn't limit the roster. Hey, everybody, come down. If we get you in, we'll give you a payday. Is it that way? You know,
Mhm.
TNA was that way where you get paid per appearance. Now,
Right.
TNA, say if you're making $500 an appearance, if you got 2 shows in for the week, that's $1,000 for a week. Is AEW paying that kind of money to these independent wrestlers who maybe not under contract? I'm just giving my view and take on it from past dealings with these companies. Not everybody is on contract. They want to pay per appearance uh, contract. Now you look at NWA and you look at that now. NWA all of a sudden is getting the hype.
Mhm.
Um, if you're wrestling for NWA, are you under contract? Just for say, okay, NWA they're doing 1 show a week, which I believe that what they're doing. What could their contract status be? If you're making 1,000 a week as the top guy, that's 52,000 a year for 52 appearances a year. That's not bad. You can go live your day job. You can make extra money. You could survive in this world. But if you're under contract and you're making 250 appearance, you still gotta, make ends meet because you're only making 1,000 a month. You still gotta cover your
Yep.
mortgage and your car payment and your health insurance and
Mhm.
food and rent and everything else. So I mean, there's a different pay scale for every different company. Now, a company like
Yeah.
Impact, which only has 100,000 viewers on the regular, what are those guys making? You got to ask yourself, they ain't
Yeah.
making top dollar, and they got to be underneath the what do you call it? Tony Khan's group.
Yeah.
So what could those guys be possibly making? You got to ask yourself.
Yeah, it's a good point, Vito. I think some of the Impact talent I know we're making like $700 a week.
All right,
So
$700 a week.
yeah,
Okay, if you're on contract for 700 a week, 28 a month, and are they paying their hotel? Are they paying their rent a car? Are they paying da 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 da? Are they paying their
hmm
expenses?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think they are. So what happens is you end up with these professional wrestlers that are having other jobs, right? I mean, they're just having to make ends meet. And the interesting tie-in here is all of this would change, in my opinion, if the business was thriving and doing better, because it would be more popular. People, in particular the wrestlers, would make more money. But that's only going to happen when the business reaches into the mainstream. And yet, oddly enough, Vito, we are in a time where we're catering to this hardcore audience that's always going to watch versus the audience that, may do channel surfing, may see something that's dramatic that they could see on a TV show that they would want to watch and check out, that casual fan.
Right.
So it seems like we're not catering to a casual audience. We're catering to the niche. And again, if we cater to the mainstream, that makes everybody richer and more successful.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, so like, what is good for the goose may not be good for the gander, and what's good for the gander may not be good for the goose. We're on a difficult time right now, especially with COVID, where COVID is running rampant again. It's a matter of time before they shut down and not doing house shows.
I
What do
agree.
you do then? I mean, you look at AEW, they're drawing
Mhm.
good houses. People are excited. WWE, they're drawing some houses because they're
Mhm.
excited. What happens when COVID comes into play? Are you going to penalize the wrestler for non existent house shows?
Yeah, it's an interesting point because obviously I think the companies, in particular AEW and WWE, will be okay. And I say WWE because they are really a TV company now as opposed to a live event company. And what I mean really is their revenue coming in is essentially just overwhelmingly off of their TV deals, right?
Right.
So the house game versus how it was, in a particular point in the past is very different. And so I think for that reason they'll be okay. Now for
Okay.
AEW, yeah, they have house shows, but let's face it, the co-owner of the company, Tony Khan, is a money mark, and his dad, Daddy Shad, as I call him, is funding AEW. And as long as Shad wants to fund AEW, they're going to be in business. I think this is really going to hurt the little guys, so to speak, right? The MLWs, the ROHs, the independent companies without TV deals. But I think the big guys like AEW and WWE will be fine.
Well, everybody calls him a money mark, right? And you say, okay, but what about him as an entrepreneur who's investing in a product? And you say, okay, he has a business plan in his venture. Now, Dixie Carter also had unlimited funds at one time with Panda
Mm-hmm.
Energy.
Yep.
And she spent and she spent and she spent, and she was 20 million in the red. 20 million is a big number,
That's
you know,
huge. Yeah.
but I don't think AEW is in that red section yet. And I think if you're going to be a successful business person in the industry, you have to have a calculated plan. Now, AEW has been on TV, what, 2 years?
About 2 years. Yeah.
All right, 2 years. Okay. In 2 years' time, you don't make any money as an organization. It's 2 years after when you should start to turn a product or a profit. So if you're not making a profit after 2 years, and I mean making money, because your first 2 years are an initial investment in your product, it's a wash. Throw it out.
Mm-hmm.
Now we take, okay, we're established, we're rolling. What do we got? They have a lot of guys on contract. Maybe not all those guys are getting paid top dollar. You don't know. Maybe they're getting
Yeah.
$100. Maybe they're getting $50. Everybody wants to be on TV because they think if they're with the in and they get to say, "Hi, I am, I am all elite." That'll increase their independent bookings so they can go
Yeah.
out and get more money. But guess
Mhm.
what? If you're not all elite and you're there as a job boy, is it really that essential for you to call yourself elite? You're exposing yourself in the industry and you're not a top star, but you're doing enhancement matches on TV.
Yeah, absolutely. The entire situation is fascinating. I think COVID in many ways has changed the industry, and how COVID will, change the industry moving forward. I think it remains to be seen. Obviously, it could really be, I think, a killer of many wrestling companies. So, I think that's actually a bad thing for the business. But um, the AEW thing is really interesting to me. And obviously, on Everything is a Gimmick, it's one of the items we're going to talk about as well. It's our new show. It's very exciting. But I just kind of want your general thoughts, Vito, on AEW as kind of this new upstart. You were part of ECW. ECW was the cool thing back in the day.
Right.
It was this kind of anti WWE sort of thing to watch, and so now this is kind of the modern version of that. So, what are your thoughts as someone who's been in ECW on this sort of anti WWE sort of alternative?
Okay. You talk about ECW, which was a cult following, which
Hmm.
had cult following, people following the Tazes, the RVDs, the Jerry Lynns, the Dudley Boys, Skull Von Crush, the Baldies, New Jack, Axel, and I mean, this you list can go on.
Hmm.
Now, do we have the same thing going on? Probably because we're taking now ECW was different because they developed characters that went on to different companies. The
Right.
AEW is taking established stars who are released and
Right.
reproducing them. Now, do you have any new stars in AEW? Now, I'm not being judgmental, okay?
Right.
There are some guys on that program who should not be on mainstream TV. They expose the business.
Hmm.
They belong in
Completely agree.
they belong in developmental. And this is not a disrespect to AEW, Tony Khan, or anybody in the office.
Yeah.
This is just somebody who went through the system when wrestling was wrestling. Because
Yeah.
when I came up, your thoughts were, I'm going to get to the WWF. I want to go to Puerto Rico. I want to go to Japan to get a Ribera jacket. I want to go to Otto Wands. I want to go
Hmm.
to Dominican Republic. And if you need to get to the WWE, you have to go through the USWA in Memphis.
Hmm.
All these different priorities. Nowadays, the AEW is taking livestock, putting them on their developmental channel and letting them try to develop. But what they're doing is exposing the business by
Right.
giving these young guys a chance. Not to say that they don't deserve it, but it's
Right.
just done a different way. If they took these guys and didn't put them on the rampages and they put a veteran with a young guy to balance it out as a
Right.
young guy getting a chance to show his stuff, I think it would be a better concept and a better way to promote your upcoming stars instead of rookie versus rookie, no TV
Hmm.
experience against no TV experience. Now, you talk about NXT, which just went through a revamp, okay? Vince McMahon did not like the concept of NXT. When NXT was Florida Championship Wrestling, his
Hmm.
initial word was, I want to develop my own stars. I don't want to use ECW and WCW guys anymore. He had one great class: Batista, John Cena, Randy Orton, Brock Lesnar,
Incredible.
Shelton Benjamin. the Haas's. I mean, there was a good group that came out of there. But
Yeah.
since that time, we haven't had a blockbuster superstar to come up through the system.
Mhm.
And then what you have is they come out, they learn one way in developmental. They're there. Then they're told by Vince McMahon, listen, we don't like that concept. We don't like NXT. We're going to repackage you into what we think you are. And they have to relearn another gimmick in another way. They don't have the
Mhm.
experience in the background to do this because they're learning. So it's good that NXT exists. But if they were going to go and stay with their own character, I'll give you Enzo and Kaz, right? NXT, they blew up. Come up, they did their thing on, Raw, SmackDown, the most over group. They had
Tremendous.
they had Carmella with them.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, they took Carmella out. They just put the Enzo and Kaz. And then all of a sudden, Kaz was out, and then it was Enzo. They dismantled it, right? You look at Kevin Owens, came through the system, wrestling on the indies, went there, came up as Kevin Owens, wrestled John
Mhm.
Cena. They tried to make him, they made him world champion. Where is he now? Is he a top star or is he in the B's? I say he's in the B class.
I
No
agree.
disrespect to him. It's just the way they book him. You
Right.
got Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn, when you look at him first coming out against John Cena, you say, come on, man, this is not real life. But his only program of prominence was Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn from NXT. You got Nakamura.
Yeah.
You got Samoa Joe going back there. I'll give you the best example of them all. Finn Balor never should leave ever NXT again because when he came up to the main roster, flat, plain, vanilla. When he's down in
Yep.
NXT, he's got something. Certain people should stay where they are, and certain people
Mhm.
can move up. Now, they just brought this carrying cross up. He was a killer, a monster, NXT champion, valet, looking good. Come up to the main roster, jobs, puts over Hardy, puts him over
Mhm.
again, doesn't have his valet, puts him in a ridiculous gimmick outfit.
Ugh,
You
awful.
look stupid, right?
Yeah.
You got this guy Walter down there. He's a bruiser. I guarantee you, they bring him up and they think, oh, yeah, we're going to push this kid. He's going to be the next Brock Lesnar. Let him do some of that shit to Brock Lesnar in the ring on his first match. I guarantee you it will not end right. My take. Remember, back when I came up, I learned from Johnny Rods. Johnny Rods was a shooter. He was a tester. Okay. He
Yeah.
was the enforcer of the WWF back in the day. If you got past him, you were okay. Vito LaGrasso, I learned from Johnny Rods. I didn't learn the business aspect correctly to where I'd say I was a businessman. But God damn it, if you came through if you came through my gap and you were in the ring with me, I was testing you because that's what Johnny
Mhm.
taught me. You are a wrestler. This is what you do. They're gonna like
Yep.
you. This is the way it is. And you know how many guys quit, cried, bitched, and complained because they said, okay, Vito's too tough. But what people forget was I was already doing WWF TV tapings in 91, 92, 93,
Mhm.
94, along with going to Japan, along with going to Puerto Rico and San Domingo and USWA, and going back to Puerto Rico, and then going to ECW, WCW, TNA, back to Japan. Coming, I did the system the way it was supposed to be.
Mhm.
So everything I did, Skull Von Crush was a cult following. Skull.
It's interesting because Vito, I think, times have changed, but the training of yesteryear compared to today, the Creator Wrestler Factory they have now, man, you kind of in the old days filtered out the people who would not be successful in the business. And now it seems like all of these guys are being signed to or off the indies that look like they're not TV ready. Maybe they do the 5-star moves really well, but they don't look believable. They don't understand psychology. They don't understand character. It's just such a drastic difference between the systems of learning the industry yesteryear versus today. Could you talk about that and maybe the value in what the system today could have if they implemented some of those things you had?
When I walked into the WWF locker room for the very first time, you had Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, Jim the Anvil, the Samoans, um, God Almighty, Haku,
Mm-hmm.
um, Tugboat. Um, you talk about British Bulldog, the Boss Man, Coco Beware, Owen Hart, Mike Sharp. Every guy who was there who had a legitimate character, right?
Right.
All bigger than life. And here I walk in. I'm a tough motherfucker. And I'm saying, all right, here I am. I finally got in my hard work, my training 4 and 5 days a week, independence. And oh my God, what the hell did I walk into? It's a new thing. The Nasty
Mm-hmm.
Boys were there when I was there. Hey, Baldy, how you doing? Who broke you into business? Johnny Rods. Hey, you're allowed in the dressing room. Come on.
Yeah.
Because I was taught how to act accordingly when they let me in the dressing
Mm-hmm.
room. Okay. Tito Santana, Greg Valentine. Talk about these guys who you're watching on TV. And here I am in the same dressing room. They take you under their wings. Wrestling Bret Hart, for the Intercontinental Championship, the British Bulldog. It's an experience. It's a learning experience. And these guys
Mm-hmm.
didn't mess with me or treat me like like I was some J-Bo. They saw I respected the business. They saw I was trained by somebody reputable. I was Johnny's boy. Legion of Doom, Animal and Hawk. How do you walk into something like that and you say, like, fuck, I'm gonna get my ass kicked in this motherfucker, right? But you're a young guy. You're happy to be there. My first match against the Rockers, Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty, they were kind to me. Bret Hart, the Boss Man, the British Bulldog. Remember Tatanka,
Mm-hmm.
right? Thick, big guys.
Yes.
Tony Garea. You got to put some little size on, and you'll match up good with these guys. He's telling you in a nice way, hey, hit the gym, put a body on you. You can wrestle. You take good bumps. Everybody forgets I wrestled The Undertaker when The Undertaker first came out.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Pretty fucking impressive, right? You're
Yeah.
there when Kurt Hennig was there, and it was Kurt Hennig against Bret Hart, and it was Hulk Hogan in his prime, the Ultimate Warrior in his prime, the Honky Tonk Man in his prime. You you're talking all the greats, and you're walking in as a kid, and you're like,
Holy shit.
where the fuck do I fit in?
Right.
John, you're on the enhancement line, and people knock you for doing jobs and putting these guys over. But what I tell people is it was the best experience of my life because these guys took the time to teach me. Honky Tonk Man, um, Kamala, Sergeant Slaughter, um, Cousin Luke, Ted Petty, Johnny Rods,
Mm-hmm.
Ken Patera, the Samoans, Arthur and Sika. Um,
Tremendous talents.
SD Jones.
Yeah.
These guys were big, thick men. I still got baby fat on me, and I'm like, holy fucking shit! And if you hit them, they're not going to feel it. But you
Yeah.
had to know how to work, and you had to know how to play the game. And Johnny took the time to teach me the game, and I was a good student. I learned. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
as I went on, I gained experience from Brett and Owen and Davy Boy and Jim DeAnville and all these guys. Like Jimmy Snuka on the Independence. I wrestled
Yeah.
Jimmy Snuka 1,000 times. Vito, you're wrestling Snuka tonight. I used to get mad. I said, wait a minute. I said, why am I wrestling Snuka? Why can't I wrestle the other guys? I said, I want to go over. I want to be the motherfucker around here. They said, Vito, you are the only guy who makes Jimmy work. And Jimmy likes working with you. So who the fuck am
Mhm.
I to complain? I'm working with Jimmy Snuka. How many guys have taken Jimmy Snuka and suplexed him from the apron over the top rope into the ring?
Not many.
First year.
Yeah.
He doesn't do that for anybody. How many guys fucking bump and go, bump and go, bump and go for Jimmy Snuka? And you're like, hey, that motherfucker was, jumped off the cage with Don
Hmm.
Morocco. And you're like, here you are, you're sitting here with the man. Tough.
Yeah.
How
Classic.
many people wrestled Bill Eadie just coming out of
Hmm.
WWE, and Bill Eadie was wrestling with Tommy Jeanette. Vito, you're wrestling Bill Eadie tonight. Bill Eadie was a monster, and here I am. But Bill Eadie respected me. He let me in the game. He taught me. And when he wanted to stop me, I'll never forget. I remember it was yesterday. Snap man me over. I felt his power. And he says, all right, time to calm down. Ivan Koloff, the first time I ever felt man strength in my life, where he grabbed me by my
Wow.
forearm like this, guys. He went like this. Ivan Koloff was 106 years old, and he went
Yeah.
like this. And I was like,
He had
I
that
was like,
old man strength, though.
what the fuck? And all of a sudden, yeah, we're going to get this and we're going to get the chain, and I'm going to do this, kid, and you're going to hit me, and everything will be good. He knew I was Johnny's boy. And he says, okay.
Mhm.
And then when he felt me and he knew I could wrestle with him, he said, we're going to go out. Do you realize that I made Ivan Koloff bleed?
The Koloff, I mean, they were tremendous. Nikita, I was a big fan of his growing up as a child as well. I thought he was a tremendous heel. So, what stands out to me about that, Vito, is you talk about these guys who were just tremendous talents, who understood the business so well, who were over. Man, and now you fast forward to now, 2021. Where are the Ivan Koloffs? Where are the guys who back then would kind of show you the ropes, and it was a little less corporate and it was a little messy at times, but they taught you what you needed to know? Where is that?
It's non-existent today because the young guys today don't want to hear about the old guys from yesterday because the new
Hmm.
guys know better than the old guys. But when I see Billy Gunn in AEW, okay, I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say it straight. I'm going to say it as cool as I can. He is the biggest, most agilest, most believable character other than Jericho. Okay, I'm talking like realistically.
Hmm.
And you say he should be heavyweight champ. He should come out with the title, but he doesn't.
Hmm.
They just did an angle with Big Show against Billy Gunn. Billy Gunn should be wrestling these guys and teaching them the ropes and letting them get the experience.
Yeah.
Now, Chris Jericho, I give him A1 props because he took a group of guys in a group. He said, okay, I'm going to have my 5 guys. I'm going to give them the rub.
Yeah.
Elevates them. I'm going to wrestle another 5-guy group. Elevates them.
Yeah.
Every time Chris Jericho's in the ring with somebody, he puts them on. This MJF, right?
Hmm.
If you look at him, he's small. He's
Right.
arrogant little prick, but
Yep.
he's in there with Jericho.
Yeah.
If he was to go to the WWE today, do you think he would have the same spot? The answer is no.
No, I don't. Yeah.
All the guys who are wrestling today don't have the size, they don't have the charisma, they don't have the magnitude to be main eventers in the WWE. It took Roman Reigns how many years to get here? And he's still going through Cena. and he's still going through Lesnar, and he's still going through Goldberg, and he's still going through these guys because he hasn't reached that pinnacle yet.
Right.
What do you do?
Mm-hmm.
How do you do it? Should they balance the guys with the experience? Absolutely. But the young guys went spot, 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 spot. You get me, Brad?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we're going to end it on that because I think this is one of the most invigorating, podcasts we've had on Getting Color with Brad Shepard. Brad, take it away. Give me your spots. Tell me where we could find you. Tell me who you are. Let the fans know you are here on Getting Color.
Well, I am the beloved son of the IWC. If you haven't heard of me, you can follow me on Twitter at It's Brad Shepard, SHEPARD. You can follow my journalism work in wrestling at airportappeal.substack.com. I do some political stuff as well, but I want to keep it wrestling. So follow me there. And yes, thank you, Vito.
All right, guys. And you know where to follow me. And my producer will probably put up some plugs of where you can find us and everything at the Big Vito brand. Follow us on Twitter at the Big Vito brand. Go to Facebook at Big Vito. And then if you're looking at, Big Vito at bigvito.com and you want to send us an email, you go right ahead. This has been Getting Color with Brad Shepard. Guys, catch the next show. And Brad, let the people know what we're going to do on the next show. Tell them about the brand new show. Go ahead.
Everything is a gimmick. I'm really excited about this. We're going to tackle topics that haven't been really discussed before, like holding wrestling journalism accountable. There's an entire subculture within the IWC, this modern fan base. We're going to tackle it. We're going to dive into it each and every week, and it's going to be really fascinating.
All right. That's it right now for Getting Color. This is Big Vito with Brad Shepard signing off. Peace out. I hope you have a great week and deuces.